Can we all agree that it takes 10,000 hours to master something, right? 10,000 hours to become a master at your desired skill, trade, whatever it may be. Well, I'm having a hard time really understanding this big debate about barber schools not having a purpose, right? Now, do I necessarily agree with the length of time that barber school has to take? Yes and no, right? Where I live in the state of Virginia, you have two options. You can get your barber's license, you can get your master barber's license. In a school setting, the difference between a barber's license and a master barber's license is 400 hours. So it's 1,100 hours to get your barber's license. It's 1,500 hours to get your master barber's license. Well, to get your certification, right? Still have to take the test and all of those sorts of things. And I'm just trying to understand people. Now, I understand. Now, and let me say this before I say what I have to say. I can understand poorly ran schools, poorly managed schools. I can understand those things, right? I can. I can understand those things. What I cannot understand really is, there's some larger institutions. There's some institutions that get it right. But I really think that people have this idea of what a barber school is supposed to be as wrong. So if you're supposed to spend 10,000 hours to master something, right? Spending 1,100 hours or 1,500 hours in a school, that's part of your mastery time. I need you to understand this. That's part of your mastery time. That's honestly your foundation time. That's your foundation time. And do I don't agree, because most of the people who I see that are advocating for doing away with barbers' licenses and cosmetology licenses and things like that, most of the people that I see going for it are people who don't have a license. And I saw a comment the other day on one of the postings, and it says, it did, and the people who went to school to advocate for it always say they didn't learn anything, so on and so forth. Now, I want you to think about this. If you've talked to anybody that went to college, most people that go to college and get a job in their field rarely use everything that they got in school, right? Some of it is just about the culture and just about the environment, and just like some of it is just about those things. And so I'm trying to understand, this is the hard part with, I think, in the barber industry. A lot of people pick it up as a side hustle to supplement the income from their job that they don't like, right? They're supplementing their income from whatever job it is that they don't like, they don't care for, so on and so forth. That's what I see a lot of people do, right? They at some point realize that they can make some money and things like that, so they go about it the right way. Right now, in the state of Virginia, not every state is like this. In the state of Virginia, you have two options to get your license. Okay, you can go to school and you could do an apprenticeship. Now, I'm a product of both. I initially went to school, although it wasn't barber school. I went to cosmetology school in North Carolina. Okay. I came back to Virginia. I did not want to go back to cosmetology school. I wanted to go to barber school. But there was no barber school around the area that I lived in. So what did I do? Well, I decided to go and seek out an apprenticeship. And, people really have to understand that, like, there's learning. Some places are learning environments, and some places are places just to get your hours. Right? And so my initial apprenticeship was not a learning environment. I did not feel like it was a learning environment. Right? But when I went to the place that I went and finished my apprenticeship, that was a learning environment. Everyone there was trying to learn to be better, learn to be more skillful, learn more about it was a learning environment. And sometimes you have to understand, like, if there are multiple places within, like, you need to interview, the school is going to interview you, but you need to interview the school. Let's just be honest. You need to interview the school. If you have all of these desires and you feel like you learned nothing, and so some schools aren't set up to run properly. They're not running properly. That's just honest. It's so honest. I'm just being honest with you. Some schools have the mentality that I'm just trying to teach you enough to pass the test, because they understand that these 1,100 hours, 1,500 hours, depending on where you're from, whether, I think New York might be 400, Florida might be 600, depending on where, they understand that those hours that you spend in school are deducted from your 10,000 hours. It's just the beginning. It is just the beginning. If you were to be in a shop 5 days a week, 8 hours a day for 52 weeks, right? If you were to, that's 260 days. If you were to spend 260 days and only working 8 hours a day, you would be in a shop for 2,080 hours. Oh, well, that's different. That's a real world environment. Do you really want to make costly mistakes in the real world environment? Do you really want to make costly mistakes in the real world environment? I'm being honest. I did. I made costly mistakes. There are people who I came in with the I know what I'm doing attitude, and then I had to decide, you know what? I'm going to forget all about this. I'm going to forget all about everything that I know or think that I know, and I'm going to learn it from the foundation up. And guess what? It was much harder to learn from that. And see, where I think that these barbers are getting distracted, they're not making the connection. I took a class and the teacher said to the class, she said, I'm not teaching you a style, I'm teaching you the techniques so you can be able to complete any hairstyle that you want with your creativity. Again, she said, I'm not teaching you a style, because if I just teach you how to style, if I just teach you this specific style, you're not going to be able to translate it into other things. And guess what? All haircuts are derivative of basic principles. And guess where you learn the basic principles at? In that place that you said didn't apply, that you don't need it, that is stupid, because you had to make an investment. You saying I only need to spend $50 on or $200 on clippers. Why would I spend $200 on clippers and immediately start being able to make money? Why would I spend $8, $10, $15, $20,000 to go to school to learn anything? It only cost me $200 to get started. Okay. Oh well, most of the world doesn't require school. Okay. But when you look at most of the world, now if you're in the US, you know that by standard that the UK is known to be, in Europe is known to use shears, scissors, whatever you want to call them, known to use them much better than people in the US. Now they don't have I don't believe that they have licensure requirements. I'm pretty sure of that. Shops do still require people to take courses through schools. I've seen it. They still require them to take courses through schools. Whether you can get your licensure or not, they want you to go and get the certificates because they want you to have a certain basic understanding. And what's so wrong with having a basic understanding of what you're supposed to do? I hear people all the time, well, you're not performing brain surgery. Okay. No, we're not. But people's image are in your hands. Well, I know barbers that can cut and they ain't got no license. They also got to run when the state board comes. They also can't really build anything because the ideas or the idea of what could go wrong is always in the back of their mind. You can't live stress free like that. You can't. You just can't. And so again, back to my question to people is, I'm asking you, what is so wrong with the school? Because you have to make a sacrifice? You have to make a sacrifice, right? Which means that you might not make as much money, and you have to make a sacrifice to do things the right way. I say it all the time. Do it wrong, do it right, do it once, do it wrong, do it twice. I'm just telling you. Do it right, do it once. Do it wrong, do it twice. So my advice is get a strong foundation in your 10,000 hours. I did not have a strong foundation along my 10,000 hours. I immediately got into it, saw where other barbers. When I got into my final shop, when I got into my final shop of my apprenticeship, I got into that shop and I realized that I didn't know whether I had been to school or not. I had been, and don't twist me, don't twist my words here. I had been to cosmetology school. It was not the same foundation uh, that I thought that I needed. So a lot of the stuff that we were doing in the beginning of cosmetology school, I wasn't paying attention to. Now, when I started going to classes, guess what stuff I was doing? The foundational stuff that I should have gotten in cosmetology school. I'm in the classes remembering the exact same things that we were talking about then that I'm doing. I may be an anomaly for most people. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like the stress that comes along with not understanding foundations as far as doing things when it comes to barbering. I just don't. Right? I have enough stress in my day with the business, running the business, doing all those types of things. The last place I really want to be stressed is in cutting hair. It's the last thing I want to really be stressed about. I just want you to understand. That's the last thing I really want to be stressed about. So I ask you, I tell you, like, what is so wrong with having a strong foundation? What's so wrong with paying attention? Y'all go into school and be like, oh, this don't apply to me. Oh, this don't apply to me. Oh, this don't apply to me. And you just cherry pick the information that you want. I want to be known as a well-rounded barber. Well-rounded. And what does well-rounded mean? Meaning I have the ability to cut anything that comes and sits in my chair. Did I say like everything that comes and sits in my chair? No, I said anything that comes and sits in my chair because my role as a barber is a community servant. I'm not going to pigeonhole myself into one style because this is all you can cap your money out. You are going to cap your money out. Period. Because there's only so many of that one style or this one. There's only so much of that. And you have to remember that. I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. On your road to your 10,000 hours, you have to remember that a foundation is needed to build something strong. If you have a weak foundation, you're going to have to, if you build a house on a weak foundation, you're going to either have to tear it down before you want to, or you're going to have to pay an extreme cost to go in and shore up the foundation. And anybody that knows anything about houses or about anything like that, it's real difficult to go in and try to fix something that was already there. I've had conversations with a lot of barbers and they say, you know what? I got to unlearn this and relearn it because there's some holes. They just tearing the whole foundation down. Tearing the whole thing down. I'm going to unlearn all of this and relearn it. I don't know, guys. On your road to 10,000 hours, just check your foundation. Shore it up. Make sure it's good if you need to. I'm just saying, I wouldn't throw away schools because you feel like it's a waste of time because you just can't go get to the money. Like, this is not a microwave. This is not a microwave. You still, even if you jumped into you still have 10,000 hours before you really figure it out. And let me say this: you got 10,000 hours before you really figure it out. If you are chasing and seeking out the knowledge. Because if you just do 10,000 hours and you just keep doing it the same way you've been doing it and it doesn't, you're going to be just as frustrated in year one as you are when you hit 10,000 hours. You can't teach nobody mastery in 1,500 hours because you got a lot to teach all across the board. And I'm going to say this too to my anti-barber school people. You do realize that the information that you're throwing away could make you more money, but now you in the shop and you crying about, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know, like, I can't get clientele, and everything you search and turn around and, oh, somebody said I could be a 6-figure barber. Man, you could be a 6-figure barber and not work that hard. Hear me out. And not work that hard if you added some of those services that you thought was stupid, that you don't care about. Oh, ain't nobody gonna pay for that. You don't know what they're gonna pay for. You don't. You don't know what they're gonna pay for. I just need you to keep that in mind. Either way. Guys, it's been another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, remember, you just one cut away. One cut away from achieving your wildest dreams. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And we'll see you tomorrow.